Okay. Okay, can you guys see my screen now? Perfect. Okay, so logging into the training site. So we have two different Clarity sites. We have the training site and we have the live site. The Clarity training site it's literally an exact replica of what the live site looks like. And the purpose for it is basically to get users comfortable, maneuvering through the screens, going from one screen to another, where to locate things. And one of the things that we've picked up on is users actually don't tend to sign into the training site at all. So when it comes down to logging into the live site, that's when they'll have a lot of questions because it's the first time that they're actually signing into either site. So I would highly recommend you as agency managers requiring your staff, your training staff, to sign into this training site because it will answer a lot of questions. And it'll catch those questions before they go live into the live site. So how do they get the training site link? This happens when you guys submit that new user request form. That new user request form gets sent to the help desk automatically. From there, we pick it up and we send an FAQ with all this information on it. So as long as we have that new user request form filled out and the correct email address for that training, for that end user that's training, we'll be able to send this information out to them. So they won't get that site unless that form has been completed either by a program manager or by you guys. So the username is the same for the training site and the live site. A lot of people trip up on the LMS. So what they end up doing, because they've never signed into the training site, now they're trying to sign into the live site, what they do is they use their LMS username to sign into the live site. That's completely different. They're two different things. So the LMS is the email. That's where all the videos are. That's where all the tests are. That's where they're going to be training, watching the videos and taking their quizzes. That username is completely different to the training site and the live site. The live site username and the training site username is literally the first initial of your first name and your last name. So if it was Jane Smith, it's J Smith. So what a lot of people are doing, they're actually putting their entire email address into the username, and then it'll come back saying, user ID or username not identified, or there's no profile with that. Well, there isn't. There is one for them, but it's not under their email. It's just under that J Smith or their first initial and last name. So that's also something to look out for when it comes down to getting your users on either site, the training site or the live site. What your password is, no one is given a password. So if they're first time training or first time going into the live site, nobody has a password. What they do is they actually should be going into the link that says forgot password. And then they have to complete the CAPTCHA, which is basically, click on the pictures that have sidewalks or fire hydrants or all the pictures that have cars. That's what they have to do. That's the CAPTCHA piece. And then that's how they'll get that password sent to their email. That email link is only active for 15 minutes. So they can't walk away for half an hour, come back and try to do that reset link because it's not going to be active anymore. You have to make sure that it's within those 15-minute window that they click that reset password link to be able to log into either the live site or the training site. Currently on the training site, there is no 2FA. We turned it off because a lot of people were having issues, but it is going to be activated soon. So just be aware of that. As of right now, users are they're not asking, the system isn't asking them to do the 2FA, but it will be. So logging into the training site, this is what the training site looks like. All the way to the right, it'll say training site because once you guys have seen it, you guys have access to HMIS. It looks exactly the same, except for just this on the right, it says training site. One of the things that we've also seen is, and it hasn't been common, but it has happened, where users are actually entering real information, real client information into the training site. That's one thing that you guys want to flag automatically. Whether it's yourselves that you accidentally did it, or if it's your users, or you're just in the site and you see it, please flag us on that. We'll be able to go in there and delete all of it. But just make sure that when that does happen, if you do it, or your staff does it, or you see it, just to let us know. Yes, and again, just be aware. What I do is I actually have Chrome with one of the sites, and then Firefox with another. That way I can differentiate between the two, and it's not both in the same window. That tends to help me, but whatever you guys think is best. Okay, so logging into the live site. So the only clients that are going to be actually into your programs are those that are receiving services for your projects. These are the people that should be enrolled into the live site. So again, how do you guys get this link, or how do your users get this link? The link gets sent after they complete the training. So what ends up happening is our team runs reports on the LMS every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Friday. So what we do is we look at who's completed all 4 of the required trainings on the LMS and who's completed all of the quizzes. So after those reports get run, we take note of who actually completed all 4 and who's ready to go live. From there, we email from the help desk. You're all set in Clarity. You're all set up. This is the link to the live site. We resend that FAQ because, again, it has that information of how to sign in, the whole spiel with the passwords, the 2FA. It goes over all that information that we just went over. It does it again. So that information isn't missing. It's literally, if they had gone through the training site already, the training login, they'll be all set for the live login. Again, no one's given passwords. They're going to have to hit that reset password link. And again, they have to do it within that 15-minute window, because if not, it's going to expire. Now, the big difference between the live site and the training site is that this one, when logging in, is that the live site does have that 2FA. That 2FA is going to have to happen every time they log into a new device. So if you log into your live site on your desktop at work, you'll only have to do the 2FA once. And it's like, I want to say 30 or 60 days. It'll reset again. But then if you do it again on your laptop at home that same day, you're going to have to do that 2FA again, because it recognizes that it's a new device. So I don't think users are told that, but I would pass along that information as well, just so they know. It's not that the system's kicking them out. It's not that there's a problem. It's just that it recognizes it's a new device. So it's not anything they did wrong. It's just the system realizes that. It picks up on that. Okay, so this is the screen that you guys are that the users see when they do the password reset feature. Again, this is associated with the email address that was filled in that new user request form. So what ends up happening is we literally copy and paste. So if it's spelt wrong on that Google form, it's spelt wrong in Clarity. So that's something also, you guys should be aware of, or whoever fills out that new user request form. Again, the link is only valid for 15 minutes, so you want to make sure that they follow through on that. Yep, and you'll need to use the password reset for your the first time you log in for the live site and the training site. A big thing to remember is that you don't want to enable any of the safe password features on your browser. It's just a security issue, and you don't want, especially if it's a shared device, you don't want anyone, being able to log into your Clarity. And again, it's against procedure. So try to stay away from that. This is what the 2FA screen is going to look like. So once you put in your password reset, it's going to show up like this. You'll either want to use the Authenticator app. I do the app because, you know, when I'm like at a vaccination clinic, I'm using different laptops, different devices. And it's just easier if I have it on my phone. And I don't have to wait for the email to get sent to me as well. But if you guys are mainly, you know, stationary, you're in one place, feel free to do the email as well. You click next. And then once you get that email in your inbox, it'll give you a 6-digit code to put in here. And then you'll just verify the code. So the only time you want to click this button down here is if it's a trusted device. So, oh, yep, so it's 30 days every time you have to do your 2FA, even if it's your desktop, even if it's a trusted device, even if it's your laptop, the only computer you ever use HMIS on, it'll activate the 2FA every 30 days, just to make sure. So, yep, so you want to check off if you're the only person, and then you enter the code. One thing also to remember is that if your security on your email is like really high and you don't get these emails from Clarity, you might have to whitelist our agency on your end. So if you don't get the email at all, please let us know, whether if it's the live site, the training site, because that also has happened, even the LMS actually. So if you don't get any of our emails, let us know, and you guys will have to connect with your IT team to whitelist us on your end. So problems that we've had with 2FA or logging in, or, you know, just end user issues that we've kind of flagged. You want to make sure you're logging into the training site and you know, you're logging into the right site that you're looking for. So if it's your first time, you know, try to make sure you know the difference between the two. Again, I use 2 different browsers, one for the live site, and then I believe I use Chrome for the live site, and I use Firefox for my training site, just to keep them different, because it does get very confusing sometimes when you're knee deep in data quality. You do need a new 2FA every 30 days when you log in, or when you log into a new device. 4 failed attempts at password does log you out for 2 hours. So let me just explain that for a little bit more. If you do your password wrong 4 times, it's going to log you out for 2 hours. Within those 2 hours, you do not want to click the reset password, because what ends up happening is if you get that email and you click to reset it, again, it's only active for 15 minutes. So you'll get the email within the 2 hours, and then you'll enter in the code. That code is no longer active because it expired within the first 15 minutes that you got it. But you'll be able to try and log in after 2 hours. So it doesn't add up. What you want to do is you either wait the 2 hours, then hit the reset link, and then enter in that code within the 15 minutes. If you cannot wait the 2 hours, feel free to email us, and we'll be able to reactivate or unlock your profile. So a lot of the times that we've had issues is that people have emailed the help desk. They've had like 15 codes, and none of them work. It doesn't work because they have to wait the 2 hours. So just red flag that for your users as well. Oh, yep. So that was the next one. People don't wait long enough for the email from the forget password prompt. Again, it does take 15 minutes. And that's the most that we've timed it at. If it takes longer than 15 minutes, let us know. It might be you know, a user error. Maybe your email isn't in correctly, or it could be a system error. So anything like that, you guys let us know, and we'll be able to just go through it together to basically pinpoint what the issue is. Yep, so people should wait 10 to 15 minutes and refresh their browser if they are having trouble. Sometimes people submit, yep, So they submit so many requests without waiting that sometimes you'll be able to get through. We on our end don't know that, and then we'll end up resetting your password or resetting your tokens, and we've now logged you out even though you were able to log in. So try to do it once, wait the time, that's the required time, and then as soon as you guys get in, let us know so we know not to touch it basically, and we'll be able to just resolve all the tickets for the errors. Also, remember that if you send a ticket, yep, any updates with whatever tickets that you guys have had, any issues, just keep updating us. Because again, we could either be, all three of us could be in a meeting and might not see it in time. You're already accessing the system. And then by the time I get to it, I'm going to end up logging you out again. And that's the last thing we want, right? So just update us on the help desk as often as needed. Do you guys have any questions on that? So Dorothy, there is no password. What you would have to do is you would have to go into the link that says reset my password or forgot password, and then that's going to email your inbox with the verification code. I'm glad that you're doing this live because that's good practice. Does anybody else have questions?
I have a question. Does the site work better with a certain kind of like Internet Explorer or Chrome, or is it kind of like all the same?
It's as long as it's the most updated version, it's
Yep.
all set. Yeah.
Okay.
That was a good question. Our previous HMIS only worked really well in Firefox, and it did not do well in Chrome, but this one has no issues with either. So, all right, I'll move on. So this is basically a refresher. This is what your home screen looks like. You get your user activity, your user settings, your agency, the Clarity inbox and messaging feature, your launchpad, and your report queue. And at the bottom, that's where you search for a client. So just quick snapshot, this is what we're looking at. Your account settings, this is where you can update your name, email, your phone. You can add a picture of yourself, and you can also reset your password here. For your account settings, the only thing that you want to do is this assessment due warning. So basically this will give you a warning 2 weeks before an assessment is due. There are case managers, I find this very helpful. Any other changes over here will be a violation of our policies and procedures. So just please stay away from that. If you accidentally change something, feel free to let us know and we can go back and just change it right away. So agency selected. This is mainly for those that have access to more than one agency. And also coordinated entry. So as you guys know, when you take the coordinated entry training, you'll be given access to the coordinated entry agency. So the way that you do that is this is your initials, the inbox, this is your account settings over here. There's this little arrow here, this little drop down. Once you click it, it'll give you a list of the other agencies that you have access to. So for most of you, you'll have your name here, your home agency, and then coordinated entry. So this is how you'll be able to switch between your own agency and coordinated entry. And again, users will know this after they take the coordinated entry training, and then they'll be able to have access to this. So we're just going to go over client profiles quickly. We'll go over how to search for a client, what to do if you discover a duplicate record, why some profile screens look different than others, and how to ensure good data quality. Okay, so again, this is our home screen. This is what our home screen is, the search screen. So this is where you guys are going to go to find your clients. Um, before adding any clients, you want to make sure that they're not already in the system. That way you don't want to create duplicate clients. You can search by their name, by their social security number, by their date of birth, or also their alias. That's not listed on here, but we can add that. One of the best ways of doing this is putting, when it comes to the name or the alias, is the first 3 letters of their first name and their first 3 letters of their last name. And I literally do it 15 other ways as well. I do their full name, both first and last, first 3, full last name. So I just try to make sure that it's not a duplicate, because sometimes clarity can be a little sensitive. We've had instances where the name doesn't come up. If you type in the full name, it won't come up at all. That's why we say, try different variations until you're absolutely sure that the client's not already in the system. Yes, and the auto suggest it's going to pop up at the very bottom, the possibility of all the clients that it could possibly be. It says, Maria, what should we do if we come across a duplicate? That is a great question, Ashley. If you discover a duplicate client, either the same or similar name, with the same date of birth or similar social security number, what you want to do is you want to copy the URL from both profiles. So you want to do the 2 that you think are the same people, and paste them into a help desk ticket. Do you guys know what I mean when I say URL? So it's the HTTPS, I don't know what it is. It's at the very top. So if you were to copy the link of a website, that's what you want to copy. So you could do both of those, or you could also send over the 2 the unique identifier as well. So what's the HMIS number? You guys can also send over. So one of the things that you don't want to do is send any personal identifying information in an email, unless it's encrypted. But there's no need for that, because what you guys can do is just do the URL or the unique identifiers into a ticket and send that over to us. So what we do on our end is we literally do a side-by-side comparison. And if we're able to merge them, we can. Right now, we are able to merge some and not others, because if they're duplicates from the previous HMIS, we're not able to merge them. But if they're duplicates, if it was created after the migration, we are able to merge them, because there's no history in one of the profiles. If there's history in the both, we have to wait until the migration is completely completed. Did I answer your question, Ashley? Okay. Okay, so there are different profile screens. The basic one, the one that everybody sees, is this one. So the red box are the universal data elements. Everyone gets to see this. These are required by HUD. And you want to answer these as accurate as possible. So if the client does not know their social security number, that's okay. You guys can put in zeros, and the data quality would say client doesn't know. If the client refuses to give you their date of birth, that's okay. Just say date of birth refused. Your public alerts are all the way at the top. So you can see public alert, this client has been issued a system-wide alert. Anyone in the system can see this. So if House of Hope enters a public alert and you're able to see this, you can review notes up here, and Amos House would be able to see what's listed here. The universal ID, that's this green box right here. This is what's known as the HMIS number, the unique identifier. This is what you would want to copy if you guys found duplicates, or when referring to a client in any help desk ticket. This is what you want to use to identify your client. Without initials, without date of births, without any information at all. Just this number is sufficient enough. Now the community queue and shelter status referrals are up here, this blue box here. So if you go into a client and just a visual, whether or not they're on the community queue, this right here would be able to tell you. So if there's nothing here, that means they're not referred, they're not on the community queue, and they have no referrals. So community queue is here, referrals are down here. Now, the only other program that has a different client profile is the coordinated entry profile. So those that have access to coordinated entry will be able to see this additional information down here, which is just contact information. So it does look a little bit different, but not so much because you guys are familiar with this information. And this is basically just to accommodate the people that access our system by our web form. So clients have the ability to put themselves into the system by completing this web form that's on our website. And that information, that web form includes this contact information. So the way that it happens is that when it gets transcribed into HMIS, there needs to be a place for it to live. The best place for that to live is on their client profile. So the only time other people are going to see this is if they're under coordinated entry. That's when they'll be able to see this. Does that make sense? I hope I didn't confuse anyone. Okay, perfect. So you guys are able to edit profiles. If you see that a social security number is wrong or a name is wrong, you guys are able to correct it. But the only thing about correcting those issues is that because they're big errors, it's going to say to you, are you sure you want to do this? Don't shy away from that because it's just letting you know this is a big deal if you're changing this information. But if you know it's wrong and you're accurate that the information you're going to put in is the correct one, go through those warning signs. It's just letting you know, are you sure you want to do this? And if your answer is yes, go through it. Just say, okay. Excuse me.
Yeah, I have another question.
Sure.
So sometimes we come across that a social security number wasn't entered. So we end up, like if we order our social security card, it comes in. Should we be changing the social security number in CES and our program? Or like where should we change it?
So there's two levels, right? You're looking at the client level when you just open up the client profile. That's where you want to change it because you're changing it for the client profile in its entirety, not just your program. So just when you when you search, you click on the client, that first screen.
So it won't matter what program we're in because you're going to be on client level. Okay, thank you.
Right. So the only thing that we do ask is that if you do have a significant change, just to let whoever else is working with that client know as well. And you can see that at the bottom right of the screen of the client's profile, you'll see who else is also working with this client. So you'll be able to use your inbox feature, the little envelope that's at the top right, to let them know, I updated their information just in case they were either looking for it or were also working towards getting that information. If you already did it, you're saving them a step. And again, you want to do that within Clarity. Anything within Clarity is, you don't need to you can use names within the inbox feature in Clarity. It's just outside of Clarity, that's when you want to use only the unique identifier. Now, the only time that you cannot edit a profile is if you did not create that profile. That's like a big if, right? If you created the profile, you'll be able to edit it. If you didn't, you won't be able to edit it. So in that circumstance, just feel free to email us the unique identifier and what it is that you want that needs to be corrected. So a lot of the times You don't want to put a social security number in an email. We'll be able to connect like this virtually, or just encrypt the email. Does that make sense? Okay. So how to ensure good data quality. So as agency managers, you want to make sure that your end users know what all the universal data elements are and how to correctly answer them. So that's, I don't want to give you guys whiplash, but I'll go back to this. So you want to make sure that all of these, that your end users know to complete all of these. The trainings do go through this, but it's always a good refresher to let them know. Now you also want to run reports regularly, not just, when they're due, because you want to look over what issues, your end users are having, if they need to be retrained, or if it's something, if the workflow is not going the way that it's supposed to be, we can identify that with the data quality reports. So that's two main things that you guys want to look at. And, it's just a constant refresher for your end users as well. And again, we'll go over reports at a different training. So that's a whole thing by itself. And like which reports to run, how often, and like even like what dates to run it for. But yeah, that's a big thing for agency managers to look at when it comes down to their end users and what their needs are. Okay, so this is managing households. Managing households, there's two ways of looking at this. You can either manage a household that's already existing, or you can manage a household, a brand new household. So someone new coming into your program that they don't even exist in your agency. So the first thing that we're going to look at is managing existing households. So they're important to set up properly so that people creating them and enrolling into their programs, it's just so super easy. And also for that coordinated entry assessment and referrals for them to work properly, the household has to be accurate as well. So one of the things that you want to make sure when you're reviewing existing households is that just because they're in there doesn't mean that they're correct. You want to go through each individual member to make sure that it's accurate the way it's being presented in the system. Again, because just because it's there, that doesn't mean it's accurate. So to avoid any confusion, we recommend that you start with the head of household and then with the rest of the adults in the household, and then go to the oldest child to the youngest child. And then sometimes there won't even be a child, right? The household is just going to be two couples. And then there are other instances where you'll have like 5 children. So I'm sorry if that happens, but it makes it easier from oldest to youngest, and then starting at the head of household. Okay, so this is what your screen is going to look like for your household members. So see how it has this asterisk right here? That means that even though none of the types have been set, Coffee Cup is the head of household. That's what that means there. So this member type, how it says wife here, if you click on this dropdown, it'll give you a list of every possibility that you'll be able to assign each person. If this member type is not set, this is what it's going to look like. So this will show up as an error on your reports. So the star, again, you want to make sure is your head of household. The head of household does default to the profile that you were in when you started adding family members. So if you are in the child's profile and then you hit manage household, and it'll automatically just do that asterisk for the child. So you want to make sure that you go through it all to make sure that doesn't happen. And again, the head of household can be changed by toggling a different head of household here. So this dropdown will list all of the members in the household, and this is how you'll be able to fix that. So this is where you add more members. So as of right now, there's no active members. When you click Manage Household, this is the screen that'll pop up. This is where you can search for more clients here. So once again, it's works like the regular search bar on the home screen. You start typing, it'll pre-populate, who it is that you're searching for. Or if you've recently just have been in the rest of the household's profiles, it'll show you right here. So it's a screenshot, but there's a plus sign over here that'll pop up if you just hover over it. And you'll just be able to click on whoever it is that you whose last profiles you were just in. So, yep, or you can use the search screen to find more. If the person that you're searching for is not in the system, you want to go back and you want to add them as a new client first before doing this. So that's another thing that you want to keep in mind. You want to add all of the members to the household in Clarity before you start managing your household, because you can't manage it unless they don't exist. Okay, so when you click on add, you'll set the member type and the date that they started in the household. So that's the start date. So this is something to keep in mind when, for example, babies. If mom has been in the program for 2 years and she just recently had a child, the child's start date is not going to be 2 years ago because they didn't exist 2 years ago. So it'll be for either the date of birth or the date that they come home into your program, the day that they basically join the household. Okay. Now, when it comes to removing, what you want to do, you want to go back to manage that household and you want to click the edit pencil. So again, sorry, it's a screenshot, but it'll be an edit right here. It'll be a little a pencil. So what you want to do is you want to click on that pencil and then this is going to show up. And then to exit someone, you just got to click this toggle on and then you'll be able to enter in the date that they actually left. So a lot of the times, with couples, you'll be using this a lot, or either when they're joining when their couples are joining together or when they're leaving a program. One of the things that people tend to forget is just because you exited them from the household, that doesn't mean that they've left the program. You also have to exit them from the program. So it's two different things that you're looking at. You're exiting them from the household, but don't forget to also exit them from your program. Okay. So this little red thing right here is a flag that will tell you you cannot add the same client to 2 different households. So if you ever get this flag, that's what it means. It means that the person that you're trying to add to a household, to the current household, is already listed as an active member somewhere else. So you want to make sure that when you're removing someone from a household, that they're fully removed, because if you're going to be adding them to a different one, it's not going to let you. So it'll just be wasted time. So if that household has an active enrollment, please use the mailbox messaging to contact the case manager, because again, our clients use several agencies. They don't just use one. So if you're removing someone from a household, you do want to, flag that case manager that's also working with them to let them know this is what's happening in the situation. And again, it doesn't have to be encrypted, because if you do it within the Clarity inbox, it's already encrypted. Okay, so removing from a household can affect other projects' data quality. That's right. So just like you would expect someone to email you if they're removing someone, like you don't know if a couple's in street outreach and a hotel program, if the hotel program is removing one of the couples, you would want to know for your street outreach program as well. So it goes by, both ways. Do you guys have any questions on that? No? Okay, so that was basically existing households. What we're going to do next is ensure that your household members are added or exited from the correct programs. That's correct. So if your agency has more than one program and your client is also, and your family is also enrolled in both of those programs, you want to make sure that you correct it in both of those programs. So even though you've managed the household tab, the household box, you also want to go back into your programs and make sure that the program reads, you know, whether the head of household left, or if there's a new head of household. And that's usually, again, with couples. So the program tab displays all of the current and past program enrollments. You can view some information about other agencies, but of course, you'll be able to see all of the information for your own agencies. So if this is a family, right away, you'll be able to see that this individual type is incorrect. Because if this is a family program, this should then be a group enrollment. Does that make sense? Okay. So right off the bat, you can tell that this is an incorrect enrollment. So that's something also that you guys want to keep an eye out. You know, you didn't run a report for this. This was just something visual that you guys can just spot off right off the screen. So group enrollments have more than one household member. You want to make sure that you go back into the edit button. That would be right over here. You click it and you'd be able to add your enrollments, the other household members into this enrollment. Once that updates, this will then say group. Does that make sense? One thing to note is that a group enrollment will not change back to an individual. I don't know if that's something that Clarity is going to work on, but that's something that we've noticed when we do these corrections. Okay, so group members will display at all of the household members in this program. So when you're in your program, you're in coordinated entry, you're in your history tab. All the way to the right, you'll be able to see your program type is a group. This is when you started. Your head of household is coffee cup, and any active group members are going to be listed down here. So again, just another visual of what it is. You know, you don't have to run that data quality report. You'll be able to pick it up right off the screen. So if someone's missing from here, you can just go ahead and click this plus, and they'll be able to be enrolled. When you're looking at exiting someone, this is your exit screen. This is how you exit someone from your program. So if you click exit, you're going to exit them from coordinated entry. So just by looking at this, even though I can't see the name of the client, I can tell you that I'm in Coffee Cup because it's a group enrollment. I'm in Coffee Cup's profile. Teacup is the other person that's in this group. And if I'm going to exit them, I'm exiting Coffee Cup. But that doesn't mean that that exits Teacup as well. I have to go into Teacup's profile and exit them as well. Okay. So to add members to an enrollment, so again, if we want to add someone to the enrollment, we're going to click on this plus sign. That's going to take us over here. So if Sippy Cup wasn't enrolled, what I had to do, I had to click on this and then it'll turn blue. So I'm going to toggle this on and then I'm going to click enroll. So when you select any missing people, it'll take you automatically to their enrollment screen. So what ended up happening was you enrolled Coffee Cup, you enrolled Teacup, but Sippy Cup was missing. So when you enroll Sippy Cup, it's going to take you back to the enrollment screen because he's the one that's the one that's missing the complete enrollment screen. So what that looks like is, I lied, right here. Nope. I missed one. It's okay. You guys know what the enrollment screen looks like. It'll give you, if it's a child, you'll be able to go back to the head of households profile and do the chronic homeless questions, which is where did they last stay, how long they were homeless for, their approximate date of homelessness, and the income questions, the source income questions, their disabilities, all that information that you guys have done for the 2 previous household members, you'll have to do for the new one that you just added. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. So when you're looking at your exit screen, you can select any household member from the exit to exit from the profile, from the program exit button, no matter which client record you're in. So this is a little bit confusing to some people, but even if I'm in Coffee Cup's profile, I'm able to exit anyone from his household. I don't have to be in Teacup's profile to exit Teacup from this. So you can select any of the household members to exit, no matter whose profile screen you're in. Does that make sense? And you'll be able to end program, and it'll take you to another screen that'll give you the date as well. So this is what this will pop up. So it'll be the project exit date. You want to make sure it's for the accurate date, their destination, where you best know that the client left to. So again, the disabilities, the income, all of this will be pre-populated. It'll cascade from the last time that it was entered. So HUD evaluates this only if all clients served increase their income from the time that they entered the project to when they left. So be sure, that if there's any income changes, you want to make sure that it's captured here on this exit screen. So if you exit a household member when they shouldn't have been, so you did it by accident, what you can do is you actually go back to this exit screen and you would click on this date and just delete it. And then it would make them open again. So just by deleting the date on the exit screen, you'll be able to keep that enrollment going. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Do you guys have questions on that?
Maria, this is Paula Hudson.
Hey, Paula.
Hi, I have a question. You may have already gone over it, and if so, I apologize in advance.
No,
but I got called away to a phone call. So if you have created a client, an enrollment, you've enrolled them, and then their spouse did not want to be enrolled. So the head of household was enrolled singly. Then the spouse changed her mind and wanted to be enrolled. And so you add that to the client, so you manage the household. And what date do you put in for the spouse's enrollment? She was there all along. She just did not want to share her information. She didn't want to be part of it. Then she changed her mind. So would she be considered, would you go back to the initial enrollment date?
So because, sorry, I hear some feedback. But she was there all the time in your program?
No, she didn't want to be in the program.
I'm sorry, so
she didn't want to be.
Which program are you referring to? Are you talking about a street outreach? Are you talking about an emergency shelter?
Yeah, street outreach.
Street outreach. Okay, so now that she wants to be a part of it,
Yeah,
I would do it as a day that she wants to be a part of it. So now
okay,
the reason I asked her what program type it was is because if you're providing, whether it's a shelter bed or, a rapid rehousing or any type of housing,
yeah,
they would have to be recorded into the system regardless. Now, if she didn't want her information shared, we could make her private to just your agency, but that wouldn't stop you from collecting her information to be entered into HMIS.
okay, okay. All right. So then will that, does that then change the head of households date of enrollment?
So who would identify, I think that depends on who identifies as the head of household. So usually, that decision would come from them. Who is the head of
Right,
household? Um, and if she is the one that's the head of household, you could just change it for the day that she comes into the program. Yes.
okay. No, he would be the head of household, so, and he was enrolled 4 months, 5 months before she finally agreed that she wanted to be part of it, so,
Okay. Yeah. So then it would stay the same. You would just have to identify them in the member type field, what their role is in the family.
okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so creating new family enrollments. So again, this is your program screen. These are the programs that would be available. When you're entering someone into your program, this is where you'd be able to see the additional group members. What you'd want to do is toggle them on or toggle them off, um, depending on who's going into your program. So then you would click enroll, and then it's going to take you directly to the enrollment screen. So the thing about this is that you'd have to do this for each individual person that you toggled on. So essentially, we have three people on the screen. We have the person whose profile we're on, and we toggled 2 additional people. So you're going to have to do this for 3 times. So again, you just want to go through your current living situation, your prior living situation, when they started. And again, on the right, you're going to be able to see who it is that you're going to be filling it out again for those 2 additional times.
Maria, can I just ask you a quick question about exits?
Sure.
So what happens, especially for the family programs? We've had a couple scenarios where a family member has exited the program before the rest of the family. So then when we're running reports, it keeps being listed as a person without children or a person without a family. Is that just something that's going to exist that way? Is there a way to change it?
So
Like we had a grandmother that moved in with the family, and then grandma ended up self-resolving homelessness before the rest of the family. So we exited grandma from the project. Yeah.
okay. But what about the household?
The household stayed, but then in every report that we run for that time frame, grandma's always listed as person without children. And I don't know if that looks bad because we're a family program, so we don't technically serve people without children.
So if grandma left
Mhm.
the program, but was grandma exited from the household?
Yes. So should she not be exited from the household and only exited from the program?
No, because if she's self-resolved, then she's no longer part of the family that's looking for housing.
Right.
Correct?
Yep.
I think what I would do is I would look at my dates a lot closely to when she left the household to when you exited her from your program,
Mhm.
because that might be what's throwing the error in the report.
Okay. Okay. I'll look into that.
I would be interested in seeing that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this is your enrollment information. You guys have seen this before. You just want to make sure that you complete all the program-specific data elements for each household member. So it seems like a lot. But if you're dealing with children, most of the time, the children information is going to be what the head of household information is. Again, the disability elements, you want to make sure you fill that out as accurate as possible. The only time sometimes that children will have something different than their parents or the head of household is in this area here. So make sure that this looks to what it really is for the children on their profiles. Again, you want to complete the non-cash information and health insurance as well. If there is nothing to fill out there, the line will not appear. So if it doesn't appear, it's because there's nothing, you didn't select it to be yes. Okay, so after you complete the household enrollment, again, it's going to pop you back up to the rest of the members for in the program. So it's just that repetition constantly for however many members you have. So once you enroll your family, it'll take you over to the program level services, assessments, or case notes. So this is where you want to add your services for your program. So if you have case notes, this is where you want to do it. Some of the services can be recorded for the entire group. Case notes don't have to be, but you can record services and notes in whichever household member is appropriate. Again, it's usually the head of household. So when it comes down to attaching files, files that contain birth certificates, social security cards, that should be attached to the household member that it pertains to. If it's a household application or any other group document that pertains to everyone, you want to make sure that it's under the head of household. If it's any like record income, you like for children or anything like that, it doesn't necessarily have to be the head of household, but it should be recorded in the adult that applied for that or receives it. Does that make sense? So it's like if the mom is the one that gets the check, but she's not the head of household, that income should be under mom because she's the one whose name is on it. Okay. So universal identification and personal identification. So when we're talking about UIDs and PIDs, the UID is what you guys want to send us when it comes down to help tickets. This is their HMIS number. This is what we identify the clients for. The PID, that is basically more relating to reports. So this is what you guys will be seeing in reports. The report itself is its own ID number. So that's assigned, when you're doing an interactive report, you click on it, it'll bring you right straight to the link of the client. That's what that is. That's the PID. But the UID, that's what's on the client profile. That's what's underneath their picture. If there is a picture, that's the one that you want to send out, in emails when you're referring to the client. No initials, no last names, no social security numbers, anything like that. Just the UID is sufficient enough. And again, don't forget about the help widget. That is actually very helpful. It'll give you articles. If you guys have any questions, how do I manage a household? It'll give you like a step-by-step. Again, we have that on the LMS, and this training will be uploaded also for you guys to rewatch. So that's going to be there as well. And you guys can always come to office hours as well. I can put these links in the chat that way for you guys. Or actually, I can send them out in the email as well. But yeah, that's it. That's the end of it. We're about 6 minutes over. I'm sorry that I rushed through it, but it was a lot of content. Do you guys have any questions? And even if you don't want to do questions through here, feel free to send them through the help desk. Again, it's the three of us. It's Jen, Tucker, and I, and we can definitely tackle any of the questions that you guys have through here.
Thank you, Maria.